Hey everybody, Quinn here. I'm on vacation in Stowe right now, but there's been so much crazy camera news this week that I did have to try and make a segment for you. So this is my sort of impromptu in front of a fireplace with a leather chair behind the lens this week. So starting off, some news that I'm excited for is that Olympus has now announced their OMD EM5. Yes, that is a mouthful to say, but it's also looking like it's going to be a handful of camera as well. This new camera from Olympus is the first one they have with an integrated electronic viewfinder. So it's using a 1.4 million dot electronic viewfinder in a magnesium weather sealed body. So it's the first time we're seeing sort of a professional caliber mirrorless camera being brought to market. It's using a brand new 16 megapixel sensor with supposedly considerably better low light capabilities as well as higher dynamic range. It's also featuring a new 5-axis image stabilization. So the image stabilization not only compensates for up and down, but also roll and pitch and yaw, which is pretty cool. So they're boasting apparently 5 stops of image stabilization with this. It has, like I said, it's a weather sealed camera, so that means that it can be rained on and it's dust proof and it's all that kind of stuff, which is good because I mean they are trying to market this as sort of a professional micro four thirds camera. And to bring that to bring that a step further, they've also included the ability to purchase a 2-stage grip that adds at first a landscape grip, which gives you a little bit more hand, and then also a bottom grip, which allows you to have a second battery and a second shutter for portrait shooting, which is pretty cool. And again, that grip is also weather sealed. Now, you have to get the camera with a weather sealed lens for the package to be complete, but they do make their 12 to 50, and it will be kitted with that for approximately, I believe, $1,400 with that lens, or body only for $1,000, which is a really great price point for the camera as it stands right now. And also, Olympus announced some new lenses that are going to be coming later this year. The one I'm excited for is the 75mm f1.8. So this is going to be about 150mm equivalent 1.8, which is a great option if you're looking for something that's going to be for good portrait work or maybe some fast action sports indoors. So this is going to be nice. It looks like it's going to be the metal construction that the 12mm f2 is built around, so it might be on the more expensive side on account of that, but I still think it's going to be a really nice lens. They've also announced the 60mm macro, which is capable of doing a 1-to-1 macro and a few stages in between that. And that lens is also weather sealed like the 12 to 50, so you'll be able to use that with the new OMD camera in a wet, drainy environment if you want to, while still getting good photos. So right now Olympus is suggesting that the camera will be available around April. It is boasting a new video mode as well, shooting in a MOV format H.264 as opposed to the AVC HD that the previous pen cameras had. So hopefully that's going to be a little better if people want to work on their computers or their iPad or anything like that. And this new image stabilization is supposed to basically reduce rolling shutter to almost a negligible amount and allow handheld shooting to be very, very smooth. So it looks like overall it could be a pretty interesting camera, and there are some new lenses coming from Olympus which look exciting as well. But also on the Micro Four Thirds front this week, it looks like Cosina, who makes Voigtlander lenses and very well known for their 25mm 0.95 lens from Micro Four Thirds, have decided to bring out a 17mm 0.95 lens. So this is going to be a 35mm equivalent on the Micro Four Thirds cameras, which is something that people have really wanted, to have something in that focal length that's fast. And people were saying it'd be great if we had an f2 or maybe an f1.8 or 1.4, but Voigtlander has come through and made another 0.95 lens, which should be available soon for approximately somewhere between $1,100 to $1,400. The price isn't set right now. But if you have a 25.95 and you're looking for something a bit wider, this is really great. If you were holding off on the 25 because you wanted something wider, this is going to be just as nice as the 25, but in a little bit of a wider field, so that's pretty cool as well. Some other big news this week, Nikon finally came out and replaced the D700 with the new D800. And the big news here is that it's 36 megapixels, which is ridiculous. It's 3 times the resolution the D700 had in a sensor that hasn't gotten any bigger. And if you ask me, I think this wasn't the right move for Nikon, but Nikon is going to sell a whole ton of them because they're Nikon. So on top of getting 36 megapixels in the new sensor, it also has a brand new video mode, much like the D4 had. So this is now shooting at 1080p with an uncompressed HDMI output. It's got mic input as well as headphone monitoring, adjustable mic levels, full manual control for video. So they're really touting this camera as the sort of multimedia camera, where you're going to get good video and you're also going to get ridiculously high resolution stills. But with those ridiculous resolution stills also comes the problem of huge file sizes. You're going to be looking at about 75 megabytes per file if you shoot in RAW, which is going to stress out any but the newest computers, and you're also going to go through terabytes of hard drive space shooting with this camera. Some preliminary images that have shown up don't really suggest that it's all that much sharper than the D700 was, which is something that we're supposed to gain by this resolution. I mean, there's mathematics at work here. It's hard to have much smaller pixels while still retaining the ability for these pixels to be sharp and all this kind of stuff. I won't really get into it because everything's preliminary right now, and there really hasn't been very many hands-on or actual real-world examples of this camera. But it's slated to be available March for around $3,000. There's also a second version of the D800, which is the D800E, which Nikon has removed the anti-aliasing filter in the camera. Now, this filter is designed to help with things like moire and aliasing problems that you get from tight concentric lines on shirts and bricks and stuff like that. But the downside to having this filter that prevents that is that it also softens your images a little bit. So they're basically touting this D800E as a really good option for a studio shooter, someone who might be shooting right now with a Hasselblad, or for someone who's looking for a landscape camera where they're not typically dealing with people and portraits where that can be problematic. And because they've removed this, it's supposed to increase the sharpness of the image, and some of the results have shown that it's much sharper without that. So that's a pretty cool option. It's going to cost about $300 more to have that anti-aliasing filter removed, which is weird. Other than that, a lot of other stuff with the D800. Don't have a lot of time to go through it now, but hopefully we'll get a hands-on with it sometime in the near future. Canon also announced some new lenses this week. Canon announced an update to their 24-70 f2.8 lens, which is one of their pro lenses. Oddly enough, it didn't receive IS, which a lot of people were expecting they were going to get from the updated version of it, but it is boasting new optics, which are supposed to be sharper and better performing. Although the 24-70 has always been a very popular lens, so I'm not sure really how much there's to gain from that. Interestingly enough, though, they decided to update their 24mm f2.8 and their 28mm f2.8 primes to have IS. Now, both of those lenses really don't need image stabilization, but the 24-70 could benefit from it, so I think it's kind of odd that they decided to put the IS in the primes, but not in the 24-70. But, whatever. That's Canon's thing, I guess. The new 24-70 is going to be about $2,400, I believe, somewhere in that price point, which makes it almost $1,000 more than the current version. So it's going to be pretty expensive. But if you're looking for some Canon glass, it's going to be available pretty soon. And lastly, the Sigma SD1 that we talked about, that stupid $9,000 camera. Well, Sigma's realized that they haven't really sold any at $9,000, so now they've decided to rename it the SD1, the Dick Merrill version, the gentleman who invented the Foveon sensor. And it's going to be available for $3,300 with probably a more realistic street price of about $2,300. No one's going to buy it still anyways. So that wraps it up for the stuff of this week. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more in-depth on some of this in the near future, but I wanted to make sure that you got a chance to hear from us. And hopefully you enjoy Scott and Sean's crazy at-home episode of Almost Friday show this week. We'll talk to you next week.